Welcome to the Activated Story Theater's 158th podcast.
This episode we bring you The King's Ring, a story from Italy.
Hi, I'm Dennis.
And I'm Kimberly.
And together we are the Activated Actors.
We are coming to you from
Los Angeles,
California.
Yes, that's the only Los Angeles I know of.
We are enjoying our time here in Los Angeles, performing some shows, of course. And then we will be heading north to the San Francisco Bay Area, and we'll be telling you about some of those shows that are coming up so you can see us live on stage performing some of your favorite stories.
And when we last left you, we were in France. Well, we weren't in France, but we were talking
back from France.
Talking about our time in France. And then after France, we moved on to Italy. We caught a train from Marseille, France, to Pisa, Italy.
Yes.
We actually caught 4 trains from Marseille to Pisa, 4 trains to get us there. But we did visit Pisa, and of course, one thing you've heard about Pisa is the famous tower.
Leaning Tower.
And everybody has to do a pose
trying
for a
to push
photograph
the Leaning
where
Tower
they look
up.
like they're pushing
It's
the tower.
tourist mandatory.
I saw one guy lying on his back and looking like he was
Just trying to push it with his feet.
With his feet. That was a little creative.
Yes.
But the tower is an amazing thing.
And it's only one part of a beautiful structure, compound. There's more than just the Leaning Tower. Yeah. They're all fascinating buildings.
That's what you always see in the photographs, but it's part of a whole, and it's not really the oldest building there. It was completed in 1372, and they've been working on it for almost 200 years. Well, not steadily, because the work was interrupted by wars and so on, but it was started in 1173, but it's still not the oldest building there.
No, there's a church there, there's a baptistry, there's more buildings in that.
Yeah. But the tower itself was actually built to be the bell tower for the church. It started leaning almost immediately when they started working on it, and they tried different solutions. One thing they did while they were building it is to compensate, they made on some of the upper floors, they made one wall higher than the other. So as a result, the tower is actually curved. Huh. But you don't really see that.
Well, I did notice the fabulous artwork and the detail on the bottom, which I think a lot of people overlook too when you're just seeing it lean, that you focus on that. But there's fascinating artwork on the bottom. Yes. I don't know how to explain it.
You don't really see that in most photos. You have to get up close to see that. Pisa is definitely worth visiting, and from Pisa
we took a side trip.
A day trip by train to Cinque Terra,
where we went hiking, because these towns, there's 5 towns, which is why it's called Cinque, because that means 5 in Italian. And there are 5 towns on the side of a mountain, and it's really inaccessible by vehicle. There are a few cars running around there and maybe a bus, but you get there by train, and once you're there, you walk from village to village, and it's a hike.
We saw the 2 oldest villages, which are Monte Rosa and Vernazza. We got off the train at Monte Rosa and hiked to Vernazza along the coast, mostly really hilly trail.
Beautiful views. There's a statue of a big giant down on the beach, and then you go up into the mountains and you hike along the trails, and you're in vineyards where they're growing olives, and there were, I believe, was it wineries?
Yes, there were wineries around. Yes, vineyards. And along the hiking trail, somebody had put a sanctuary for homeless cats.
Yes, they did.
5 little houses for cats, and
they have some food there.
People put food out.
Scoop it out and help feed the cats.
But these villages, Cinque Terra, are very colorful. The houses are all slightly different colors, and I found out the reason they did that is so fishermen could, when they were out on the boats, they could spot their house.
And it is a World Heritage Site.
Yes.
It is, many of the places we visited over in Europe are World Heritage Sites, protected because of the history. Very
colorful little postcard villages there. Okay, and then after Pisa, we went to Rome, I think Rome is my second favorite city that we visited.
And what was your first favorite?
My first favorite, well, maybe we'll keep them in suspense.
It's coming up. Okay,
yes.
So we won't tell you yet. All right.
But I absolutely love Rome because
history around every corner.
Yes, you can be walking along, and all of a sudden there are these ancient ruins right there in the middle of everything else.
Right. So it's like a little discovery around every corner. walking along, and there's shops and markets and people just are going about their daily life, and you turn the corner and there's an old column from long time ago in ruins, and what used to be a theater, what used to be the Colosseum.
The Colosseum. Now, I always kind of had the impression that things like the Colosseum and the Forum were out away from the city, but they're really right in the heart of town.
And this is, you're dating back to ancient civilization.
Yes.
This is the beginning of cities and...
Well, the Forum is about 2,500 years old.
And explain what a forum is.
Well, the Forum it was just like the center, the hub of activity. It's where the government buildings were in ancient times.
People traded goods.
It's where they had parades and all kinds of things like that.
Speeches.
We walked on the streets where Julius Caesar walked.
Yes, that was really neat. It's like walking down the street and you're thinking, I've read about Julius Caesar. Here I am walking in his footsteps.
And just across the street from the Forum is the Colosseum, which is about 2,000 years old. And the Colosseum was, of course, a big arena for sporting events and festivals and theatrical presentations and all kinds of things like that. And it held up to 80,000 people, it is believed.
Wow.
So big arena.
Yeah, and it's really amazing to see the architecture and to realize that they had achieved this back before they had cranes and modern technology. Just to look at it, it's incredible.
Yes, really amazing. We could have spent more time at the Forum.
Absolutely.
It's just a huge treasure.
Yes.
It's like being on another planet almost. But we really loved Rome. Hope to go back there someday. Mm-hmm. And when we do, we've got to have some more of that gelato.
Gelato!
Best gelato in the world.
It was good.
Little gelato shop, just not far from where we stayed.
And gelato is kind of like ice cream.
It's kind of like a lower fat ice cream, yes.
Good.
And this gelato company has been around since the 40s, and they do some really good stuff.
Yeah. It was recommended to us by the people we were staying with, and we are thankful for that.
Okay, so we'll tell you more about Italy
yes,
next time.
We're going to divide Italy into 2 podcasts because we did we went to more attractions there. I think we did about 5 stops in Italy. And some of the other countries we went to, we only had a chance to visit 1 or 2 cities.
Right.
So we'll do another podcast next time we are visiting with you. We will bring you some more information about Italy. But right now we do have a story, and guess where it comes from?
Switzerland.
Too late. No.
Oh.
They guessed out there. You were wrong. It is from Italy. The King's Ring. A story from Italy. Long ago, in Italy, there was a certain king. And this king had a ring. A very special ring. A king's bling ring with lots of zing. But one day, he lost his ring. Or, at least, he couldn't find the thing. My ring! Oh, my beautiful ring! Oh, where could I have left it? I can't lose that ring. It was a gift from the king of the north, who got it from the king of the south, who got it from the king of the west. No, it has been in this generation through many families. So, the king had a proclamation issued throughout the city.
Hear ye, hear ye! Whoever shall find the king's missing ring shall be rewarded with all of the gold they can carry. Well, actually, all of the gold they can carry might be a bit too difficult to carry. So they shall be rewarded with not quite all of the gold they can carry. Have a nice day.
One person who heard this exciting, if rather confusing announcement was a poor peasant named Antonio.
Oh, I could really use that much money, surprisingly enough. I wonder how I could possibly find the king's ring.
And he heard someone else in the street say,
Boy, I wish I was an astrologer. Then I might be able to see where that ring is and get the reward.
And that gave Antonio an idea. He went to the king and said,
Greetings, your majesty. I am Antonio the Great. Maybe you have heard of me.
You're the plumber?
No, sire. I am the world's most astounding astrologer, and I have come to offer my services, because the stars have told me that you have lost something.
Why, yes! I have, as a matter of fact, I have indeed lost something.
The stars never lie. If they did, they'd be planets. And what is it that you have lost? No, don't tell me. Let me tune in to the star vapors. Let's see, you have lost a sting. No, that's not right. No, it sounds like sting. A thing. Wait. It's coming to me. A ring.
Why, that's amazing. If you weren't an astrologer, I would think you just heard the announcement in the street or something. Huh. Well, so, can the stars also tell you where my ring is?
But of course.
Oh, wonderful. Well, where is it?
Well, now, that's a much more difficult question. It's going to take a lot more time because I'll have to work hard at deciphering the, cosmic tinnitus and paramecia.
Oh, yes, of course. What do you need to assist you in your work?
Well, I will need plenty of paper and ink to do my astrological calculations.
You shall have stacks of paper and dozens of pens and barrels of ink. What else?
Well, while I'm doing my work, it would help if I could stay here in the palace. That way I can pick up on the ring's cosmic vibrations and prevarications.
You shall have free room and board here in the palace while you complete your work. Anything else?
I don't suppose I could sit on the throne once in a while.
Don't push your luck.
Right.
And by the way, even if you don't find the ring, you shall get free room and board from now on.
I will?
Yes. We'll just move you to the dungeon. Well, I'll let you get to work. Now, Antonio could not even read or write, much less read the stars. But when he moved into his quarters in the palace, he began making doodles and scribbles on the paper, as if he were writing something very complicated and important. The king saw it and said, "Oh my, that looks very complicated and important. I can't even read any of it."
Oh, most people can't, sire. Sometimes I have a hard time reading it myself.
And all of this information on the paper came from the stars?
Believe me, sire, you won't find any of this anywhere else on Earth.
Well, I just hope it leads you to my ring very soon. I'm starting to get very impatient.
Oh, of course, sire, of course. And I assure you that I'm making progress. But, I need to see another full moon or two, or something like that. And possibly another celestial thingamajig.
Very well. But you better have an answer before long. My dungeon is getting awfully lonely. And the king wasn't the only one who showed interest in Antonio's work. There were 3 servants who came snooping around and watched him anxiously and whispered amongst themselves. Now, although Antonio could not read or write, and he certainly couldn't read the stars, he could read people very well.
Those 3 are showing that they are very concerned about my doodling and scribbling, which means they are worried that I'm actually going to find out where the ring is, which must mean that they have it. Excuse me, you 3.
Who, me?
Oh, I didn't do anything.
Me either. I never stole anything in my entire life.
I was just wondering if you knew how the king punishes criminals.
Criminals?
Yes, for example, thieves. Thieves? Oh, I don't know. How should I know? Well, I was just wondering if it was a really pleasant punishment, or if it's a very severe, painful punishment.
I hope it's not too bad, I guess.
Well, I'm only asking because I thought it might be information I could use in my calculations. It's too complicated to explain, but no matter. Maybe I really don't need the information because I'm actually getting very close to solving the problem.
You are?
Oh, yes, indeedy. I expect to know where that ring is by this time tomorrow. I just have to go out tonight and watch the stars up close for a couple of hours, and then I should be able to get it all figured out. Oh my, that is very useful news indeed.
But Antonio did not go out that night. Instead, he hid under the bed, and just as he expected, the 3 servants came creeping into his room.
Shh! Over this way! Where are those doodles and scribbles?
There's one fool.
Oh, what was that? Where did that voice come from?
I don't know. Do you suppose the stars can talk? There's 2 fools. I don't like this, but there are his papers on the desk. Now, what are we going to do?
Well, maybe we can make a few marks on them. He'll get confused and won't be able to read any of it.
There's 3 fools.
That does it! I'm out of here!
Me first.
I'm already gone! So the 3 servants rushed out of the room, and it was all Antonio could do to keep from bursting out laughing. The next day, the servants came back into his room when he was there. Please, sir, we confess that we took the ring. We didn't really steal it. We were going to return it after we sold it.
Sounds like you didn't think that plan through quite well enough. We'll give it to you, and we'll give you a bag of gold besides, and we promise we'll never do anything like that again.
Just promise us you won't tell the king, okay?
Oh, very well. I'll keep your secret this time if you remember to keep your word.
So late that night, when no one was around, Antonio went into the great hall and dropped the ring into a large urn. Then the next morning, he went to the king and said,
I am happy to announce, sire, that the stars have finally revealed to me where your ring is.
They have? Where?
It is inside the large urn in the great hall.
Really? Guards, grab the great urn inside the large hall, or vice versa, and turn it over to see if anything is inside. The guards thought this was a rather strange order, but since they were used to getting strange orders, it really wasn't so strange at all. They picked up the urn, turned it over, and, sure enough, the ring fell out onto the floor. My ring! Oh, my ring! It really was there! My, but astrology is amazing, isn't it? People like you who know it really well can make the rest of us look like fools. But I wonder how the ring got into the urn in the first place.
Well, sire, that's an even more difficult question, and it would take me and the stars even longer to answer it.
Oh, well, in that case, never mind. Well, I'll just give you your reward, and I must say, it was well earned.
That does have a nice ring to it.
Hey, nobody's allowed to outpunch the king.
Sorry.
Now then, before you leave, we would like to have a banquet to celebrate the return of the ring, and we would like you to be the guest of honor.
Oh, thank you, sire. I believe I can clear my calendar for that.
So there was a big banquet with many VIP guests from all over the kingdom. The king from the north, the king from the south, the king from the west, and other kingdoms. And Antonio sat at the king's right hand, which is also where he wore his ring. And during the meal, a covered dish was brought in. And the king said, My friends, I told you about what an amazing astrologer this Antonio is. Now, he will show you himself. Antonio, I am certain that with your skills, you can tell us what is under this covered dish before it is uncovered.
I can?
Of course! You solved a much more difficult problem by finding my ring. This should be extremely easy for you. Antonio looked at all the VIP guests in the hall who were looking at him with anticipation. He looked at the king, who was looking at him and smiling. And he thought that he had been found out and that the king was going to throw him into the dungeon. So he muttered, half to himself.
Well, it's all over.
But the king misunderstood him and said, "You're right! It is olives!" And he pulled the cover off the dish. "Didn't I tell you he had an amazing talent?" And all the VIP guests in the hall were more impressed and amazed than ever.
Oh, wow. Man, yeah. Bravo.
"You know, Antonio, I might have need of your services again in the future. Perhaps you should just stay here in the palace and be my full-time advisor."
Oh, that's very generous of you, sire, but astrology is such hard work that I think I'd like to retire from it and do something else.
"Really? Like what?"
I think maybe I'd like to try being a peasant. And that's the story of the King's Ring from Italy.
Yay! He found his ring.
He found his ring. Now, you might wonder how this story would work in the original Italian, because if the man says it's all over, it's not going to sound like, in Italian, it's not going to sound like the Italian word for olives. So how would that work? Well, in the original Italian version, the man had a name that sounded similar to the Italian word for crawfish, which was actually what was on the dish. And so he muttered to himself, "Oh, this is it. It's all over," whatever his name was. And the king said, "Oh, yes, it is crawfish. You're right."
So you're saying you changed it to olives?
I changed it to olives, yes, so it would make sense in English. That's
and besides, olives grow in Italy.
Yes, and translators face that kind of problem a lot. I remember reading, for example, about one of the Harry Potter books, when they revealed that a certain character, and we won't say the character's name in case you haven't read it, but a certain character is his name is the letters of his name are rearranged to spell out "I am Lord Voldemort."
Right. Oh, well, didn't I just say? Oh, okay, but you're not going to say the identity. Okay.
Yes, when that was translated into many, many different languages, it didn't work to say "I am Lord Voldemort," so they had to say something else.
They had to say something similar. Yes. Wow, that's a challenge.
Yes, it is very, very much a challenge.
Yes.
I didn't face nearly that much of a challenge.
No, you just olives. Okay. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed that story. And like I said, we do have some more stories coming up that will be live on stage in the San Francisco Bay Area. And before I tell you about those stories, though, I would like to request that if you are listening to our podcast, that you would please give us some stars and thumbs up on whatever it is that you're listening to us on, or even just make a little post on Facebook or Twitter and let people know about our stories, because we would like some more people to listen to them. And we enjoy everybody who is listening to our stories now. So if you want to see us live on stage in April, we have some shows coming up at the Atherton Library on April 11th. That's in the San Francisco Bay Area. We will be performing The Coyote and the Eagle and the story of the Dragon of Krakow, which we just came back from Poland. That'll be coming up in our podcast too. We'll be telling some more stories from Poland. So that's coming up April 11th at 4 o'clock. On April 12th,
we are at the Millbrae Library, also in the Bay Area, at 7 p.m. Millbrae Library.
And then on the 13th, we are going to Modesto. You can catch us at the Stanislaus County Library. That's the main library downtown. And that will be a 7 o'clock show on April 13th. That is a dinner theater show. I believe you're supposed to bring your own dinner. I don't know how that works actually, but I do know it's a dinner show. So that is the 13th at 7 o'clock.
On the 18th, we're back in the Bay Area, San Jose, the Rose Garden branch of the San Jose Library at 5 p.m.
On Wednesday, April 20th, you can catch the show at the San Leandro Library at 7 o'clock, and we'll be doing Red Riding Hood at that show, and Anansi Goes Fishing.
And on the 21st at 4 p.m., the Tiburon, just across the Tiburon Library, Belvedere Tiburon Library in Tiburon, just across the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco.
Right, that would be just north of the San Francisco. That's it for our public shows in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then we head up to Oregon and Washington and Idaho, and then back down to Reno, and take off for the summer reading programs. But the rest of the shows that we have this year are at school programs. So if you have a school and you'd like to have us come perform at your school, if you're in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, or Reno, Nevada area, please give us a call, 800-429-6576, or send us an email. You can find our email at our website, activatedstorytheater.com, or it is Activated Story Theater, and that's R-E on the theater at the end there, activatedstorytheater@gmail.com. We'd love to come to your school and put on a show.
And we'll be back next month with another story, and we'll tell you more about our adventures in Italy.
Adventures in Italy coming up at our next podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope that you all have an activated day.
Bye.
Activated Story Theater is committed to bringing fun, educational shows to schools and libraries nationwide. On stage, we use physical comedy, American Sign Language, imaginative props, and a giant, oversized book to bring multicultural folktales to life. For booking information, check out our website, activatedstorytheater.com, where you can also find out when the activated actors will be performing near you, read a story, or order one of our audio CDs. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or listen on Stitcher. We look forward to your comments and folktale suggestions. Stay activated. Until next time.